Muthikiriria no ende kumenya muthuri uyu ri gwathire atia karugano kau onako ni kavata muno tondu no gake ngoro cia andu aingi muno.
Thank you very much. Nĩ thank you ona nĩ ũndũ wa kũũria ũguo tondu I believe with all my heart that maũndũ marĩa Ngai ekaga thĩinĩ wa mĩtũrĩre itũ, especially as believers, however painful they may be, nĩ amoyaga nĩgetha egocithie na akamahũthĩra nĩgetha egocithie. In 1989, as I said, I got married very young to a very wonderful gentleman, niwe Mr. Waruri. As you have seen, that's my last name. Na nitwagĩikarire na mwathani agĩtũrathima na tũirĩtu tũu ndakiuga airĩtu erĩ, and tũgĩikara o wega. I can always say that I had a very wonderful marriage. I had a very I enjoyed my marriage. Nĩ njĩraga atumia ona rĩrĩa tũraria ũhoro wa marriage, that marriage works. Niĩ ndirĩ ndora captain kana ona gwĩciria kũra. That tells you I was a happy wife. Yes. But maũndũ nĩ mathiaga mũtũrĩre-inĩ makahĩngĩcana na rĩmwe ndũngĩhota gwĩciũria tũtigagwo nacio, what happened, how, why, but most of the time the best thing to do is to look forward, nĩkuo kũiga maitho tũrorete kũrĩa tũrathiĩ. Na hĩndĩ ĩyo ndaheo visa 2000, fast forward, ndaheo visa in the year 2001 nĩgetha njũkĩre. Nĩ ndokire maita merĩ, ngĩinũkaga ngoka gũkũ ngaikara mĩeri ĩtatũ ĩna, ngainũka. Nĩ ũrĩa mũndũ akĩheo harĩa stampagĩrwo ndũgaki exceed 3 months, ũkacoka. Ngĩũka rĩa mbere ngĩcoka mũciĩ ngĩikara mĩeri ĩtatũ, ngĩũka rĩngĩ ngĩikara gũkũ kĩndũ mĩeri ĩtatũ, ngĩcoka mũciĩ ngaikara mĩeri ĩrĩ ĩtatũ, ngacoka gũkũ. So the third time when I went home, that is 2004 March, ndakorire mũthuri ũtekũigua wega mwĩrĩ, mũthuri mũrwaru, na ndoimĩte mũciĩ I think December. So ndaikarire just December, January and February. And by the time I was going home in March, ndakorire mũthuri mũrwaru, mwĩrĩ ũcenjetie biũ, ona ndiamũmenyaga rĩrĩa ngĩrire airport. And I knew that something was very wrong. Na nĩ akĩnjoire airport na tũgĩgĩthiĩ mũciĩ, na ngĩkĩenda kũmenya nĩkĩ kĩũru. Na nĩ anjĩrire we, he's been losing weight, no ndarĩ na ruo, ndarĩ ũndũ araigua. And ngĩkĩũria kwambĩrĩirie rĩ, because I was home just 3 months before. Agĩkĩnjĩra he doesn't really know, and so I persuaded him, as you know, captain. Athuri aingĩ nĩ hinya mũno inyuĩ mũgĩketĩkĩra gũthiĩ thibitarĩ, especially kũrĩa gwitũ mũciĩ. So nĩ ndakĩrutire wĩra wa kũmũthaitha nĩgetha agakĩrorwo nĩkĩ. And finally, after a whole week, we were able to go to the hospital. Na this is 7 days after I arrived. Twathiĩ thibitarĩ mũthenya wa Monday early morning. Nĩ ekirwo test cia mĩthemba yothe. Kwĩ Monday na gĩkwo test, tũgĩtũmwo Aga Khan, twathire Thika tũgĩtũmwo Aga Khan, na gĩkwo test on the Tuesday. And then that Tuesday hwaĩ-inĩ he went into a coma. He was coming back and forth, na kũgĩa na conversions na kĩ. And on Wednesday ndagĩtarĩ nĩ okire na akiuga tondũ nĩ mathima everything na matirona, and he continues to lose weight, and he looks like he's even hallucinating and things like that. Arorwo HIV and AIDS. And since he was back and forth, in a coma, I had to consent as the wife. And so nĩ ndagĩcainire na gĩthimwo na gũgĩtuĩka nĩma he was HIV positive. Of course, that you can imagine what that did to me. This is just about 10 days after I arrived from the US na ndatigite mundu healthy. He was a healthy gentleman, na ndwari ongiuga ni middle, ni ari munene kidogo gugukira, mundu turite very healthy. And so I was devastated. You can imagine the shock, the confusion. Of course, that put me on the spot. And because I had hired a specialist, rĩrĩa gwatuĩkire nĩegũthimwo na nĩ mara suspect what it could be, I had a specialist, and so he's the one who brought in the results na gũka gũgĩka assessment na kwenda kumenya how, kũnjũria a few questions. And so he told me that this must have been a very old case, which was almost like 10 years ago, according to him. Na niajũririe mwana wakwa wa last born how old she was, and at that time she was 10 years old. So the doctor told me thiĩ ndware mwana akarorwo, agachekwo, agatestwo HIV. And of course, with that tells you where I was. According to them, it was obvious that, I was positive. Ngai nake, ndahana mundu, Ngai ndahana mundu. And so I want to say that ne muthuri wakwa, that was on Wednesday. Now by this time he was kabisa in a coma, organs were failing, and he was in a coma for about 4 days. And on Monday he passed on. So 14 days after I arrived from the US, not knowing anything, I had no clue that he was even sick. So he passed on the following Monday. And so that's how I lost my husband. Na nĩngũkiuga tondũ nĩnjũĩ athikĩrĩria no mende kũmenya what happened to me and what happened to my daughter.
To your daughter.
But I want to say that nĩ ndarĩ na guoya mũingĩ mũno. Na even during those 14 days, going through that process, it had affected me so much that na nona nĩ mũndũ twaikarĩte nake, that was our 16th year in marriage. Tondũ ndakĩkire 89. So this is 2004. This was 15th, 16th year of marriage. So aigaga nĩaraturwo nĩ mũtwe, ngaturwo nĩ mũtwe. I had almost every symptom that he had. Ona tekũnjĩra ndona ena ruo, it really affected me. So within those 14 days, I had lost a lot of weight. And since the day he was admitted, for those 7 days, I was by his side. I never went home. I still don't remember what was going on, whether I was eating or not. But all I know is that I never went back home. I stayed with him at the hospital. And I was living in handũ harĩa ũguo ũrona tarĩ movie ũrona, that kind of situation. No, Ngai nĩ mwega nĩ tondũ after 6 months niĩ ndiathire gũtestwo na ndiatwarire mwana wakwa gatestwo. Between that time that he passed and we buried him and the time I went to be tested, of course, those are the moments when you want to go and go and go and not na ndũgakinye kũrĩa ũrathiĩ na ndũkũrio kũrĩa wathiĩ nĩ mũndũ. Those are the times when you're thinking, tiga nĩ ici ciana, I don't see any need ya gũkorwo ndĩ gũkũ. It was a tough time. No, Ngai nake, na tondũ nĩ ndokangĩte gũkũ na nĩ ndatungataga gũkũ, na people had heard what was going on and what had happened. And I can tell you, ndasustain-irwo nĩ mahoya ma the saints, ndasustain-irwo nĩ mahoya ma andũ arĩa mahoyagĩra na arĩa twatungataga nao, because I could, as much as so much was going on within me, but I still could feel the prayers of the saints ciĩnyitĩrĩire. And so after about 6 months, I happened to go to a meeting, a conference. Niĩ meciria makwa meciragia, I had gotten so used to gũkorwo ndĩ married that I went to a married, a couples conference.
Wow.
6 months after, na nĩ ndaregete biũ gũthiĩ gũtestwo. Because I was saying, it's obvious. I have every symptom. My head, nĩ ndetĩkĩtie that I am actually sick. And so I was like, why should I go? Onegetha ndagĩtarĩ ikare hau na njikare haha anjĩre the obvious. So I didn't want that. It is of course fear. Na denial na maũndũ mangĩ matiganĩte. And so I went to this conference, and during the questions, when people ask questions, nĩ gwatuĩkire that we write anonymous questions, anyone who has a question. Na to ndiendaga ku discuss anything. Now this is a church where ndiathiĩ gwakwa nĩ Ruiru, so ndathiaga Ruiru PCA na nĩkuo serving there, I was a deacon there. So this conference was in Nairobi. So this is not a church that anyone really knew me, but I had seen that there was a conference on Eternity Kenya Idonete conference. It was a couples conference. And so I wrote a question. It barely related at all because I didn't want anything, could discuss anything to do with that. So I wrote a question to do with ministry. And so when I wrote the question, and it was anonymous, no name, no acokirie ciuria ciothe, when he got to my question, oigire, the person who wrote this question ndĩrenda kũmuona wabici wakwa on Tuesday. And this is a man of God who it is very hard kũmuona. So I got an appointment with him. And so Tuesday morning I was at his office. Tũgĩkĩaria ũhoro wa ministry, kĩũria gĩakwa na kĩ. And then of course when you're having a time session with someone as a minister, you want to know them. So ngĩkĩmwĩra, ona ndikaraga gũkũ, thomaga kanitha Ruiru, ona, I live in the US and ABCD. And then, okay. And then one question led to another, and that's when I explained to him what had just happened. And everything stopped, and he looked at me. Akejera, I now know why you are here. Yes, Ajerire, I could feel there is something that we need to talk about. No reda mwirire what was going on and what I was going through, what had just happened, that I had just buried my husband 6 months prior. Ajerire, now I know. Akejuri, have you been tested? Gimwira, no. Akedora straight, eyeball to eyeball. Akejira, you are negative. Captain, kiugo kia Ngai, kana kiugo kiumite, from the Spirit of God. When the Spirit of God speaks, that kujira te you are negative. When dire adoria kejira you are negative, everything in me came alive. And that's the moment I realized, oh my goodness, I've been dead walking. Diamenyaga, no riria aririe kiugo kiu, I think, I always say it carried life, and it spoke life, and it gave me life. I came back to life. And nakejera, and even if you were, even if you were positive, niye na mutumia wakwa na my church family will support you with your girls. Na Ngai uria savagi, ni Ngai uhonanagia. Nakejera, Akejura, I don't know if you enjoyed your marriage, but he prophesied, na Akejura, na no gietereire captain. Akejura, I don't know if you enjoyed your marriage, no Ngai ni egukuhe, a marriage that you will enjoy. Amen. From henceforth. Na Akejira, daku request uthie or get tested, though ni wega umenye the demons always that you're fighting with. Nigetha ukihoya, you're able to be on target. So go get tested. And from there, I called. Everything changed. My perspective changed. My faith came alive, and that's when I realized, oh my God, I actually could be negative. And so I called a friend of mine, who is a senior to me. Na ngĩmwĩra nĩ ngwenda ndeithie tũhoe na to fast for 3 days, then the third day andware ngatestwo. And that's what we did. We would okaga kanjoya Ruiru gwakwa, tũgathiĩ nake Nairobi Pentecostal, that's the church iria iharia Rugongo, Serena, somewhere there, yes. Nairobi Pentecostal church, something like that. So we would go there. They had very good prayer cells. We would go pray there. So the third day, tugithi hau Nairobi Women's Hospital. And kou matiekaga ta those centers that were public, you know, everywhere, mekaga 2 tests. So we paid, I remember that time, she paid for me 100 shillings. Na ngĩkwo test ciĩ I can't remember what they used to call them. And I came out negative.
Wow.
So when I share this testimony, I share it with all due respect. Kuri, my late husband, he was a good man. I have nothing. Odumoru igiuga wa muthuri ucio. And my pain was that, you know, he didn't have to die that way. But look at me now. Na mundu uthikagiriria kana mundu anathoma ibuku riakwa kana mundu anaigua wira uyu uria Ngai ekaga, that Ngai nioe go preserve ugakorwo wi mwaki-ini na nduramenya wi mwaki-ini no ukoima kou utekununga ona ndogo. And when I even came here, I remember when I came back because I was able to be home with my children for almost a year. The whole year I came back December of 2004. Ni ndajirie kwiyuria kana hihi, you know, kihunjio kia ngoma rimwe, you know, ni kigiaga sama ngianjia kwira maybe those people don't even know what they are doing. Do you know, I checked myself twice to the ER. O rĩrĩa ndanjia gwĩciria maybe acio no korwo nĩ mahenirie, maybe there is a hena andũ na hau ũguo marageria to encourage, and so that's why they told me what they told me, that I'm negative. Nĩ ndechekire ER maita merĩ, na of course gũkũ gũgĩtũmwo gwa social services na nĩ ndagĩthimirwo. So kuma hĩndĩ ĩyo na kinya ngĩgĩa na maratathi makwa gũkũ no ndathimirwo, so nĩ thimĩtwo maita matano. And every time, of course, from the word go, I was negative. So God preserved me. And
Amen.
Sorry, it will take so long, but I think it's important.
That is important.
Muthikiriria urathikiriria mamenye ni kuri Ngai uturaga muoyo, ni kuri Ngai ui gu preserve, na ni kuri Ngai wikaga maundu maria only he can do. Yes. Thank
That
you.
is a testimony that will change the lives of so many people. Andu aingi muno aria ame kuthikiriria kana aria marathikiriria thaa ici kana aria megucoka kuthikiriria thutha-ini. Now, this comes true what the Bible says. Rugano rwa Daniel riria ikirio irima-ini ria miruthi, riria Shadrach, Meshach na Abednego maikirio mwaki-ini na matigana kuhia niguo. And that is powerful. So how did the children take the whole thing? And we had the daughter.
Now, that time they were young. Todo uyu munini ari 10 years, as I said, no ciongi ari 12 years. 13, todo ari, I think she was in Form 2 or thereabout, athomete munini. Of course, we didn't tell them that time, todo na matingi understandire. It was tough because later on, nirio realizaga that ona dieshiririe, I don't know if kane kumenya itamenyaga kana dieshiririe that we could even take them for counseling. Nigetha makakiaririo, because I think I was more focused nani nigetha ndimenyerere hote kumamenyerera, hote protect. So we didn't tell them anything, but of course they were in shock. Na most of it muno ni gutuika confused, na umwe acokire ku open up to me, because before I came back here, tori ni magitigwo mari wiki and I have to come back to the US. I had to kumuruta day school, mathomagĩra private school ya Ruiru. I had to kumuruta day school ndimutware boarding, na ningi njethe mundu wa guikara nao ndacoka na guku. So that time when she was in class 6 and class 7, riu acokire kunjira later on when I told them later what happened, or what happened to the dad. Acokire kunjira that there are times when she was suicidal. So it was tough on the children. Later on, nitwacokire riu makigimara after their 20s could discuss how it felt, what they thought, but it was confusing. It was tough. Those are things that affect us even today. Because tiga nĩ wendo wa Ngai ũngĩthiĩ deeper than pain theory, I don't think there is anything else. No Ngai agũteithirie ũhote kũmũ allow ako comfort in a way that only he can, nigetha pain iyo yothe okay amehilete, and it takes time, but I think as of now they are okay. But during that period for about 10 years it was tough for all of us, tondu ona ni gũkĩtuĩka nĩ ngũingĩra ndege ndĩmatige marĩ oiki. It was tough na ndoka ngĩtuĩka ningĩ ndigũcoka for a long time, so it was tough. It's been a journey, but God has been faithful.
Wow.
Yes.
Good. Let me ask. Maundu matatu. One is the lessons that as a pastor, as a youth leader, as a community leader, as a paralegal expert and a professional, what lessons the kinya how to kinya, what lessons rwakurutire iria unge pass on to aria megũgũthikĩrĩria na aria magagũthikĩrĩria thutha-inĩ?
Mwena-inĩ wakwa nguga ta my book, one of my books especially area ina details cia that testimony itagwo You Are Dangerously Loaded. And what I mean by that is that Ngai kiugo kia Ngai kiroiga ati before you were formed in your mother's womb I knew you, na nida ko udeinete utuike messenger, you know, to the nations. Na koguo rugendo kana gathabari karia Ngai atugerageria na kalao maundu maingi mahappen thiini wa miturire itu, na agathia agitukwamuraga o ikinya gwa ikinya. I believe those are nitoria ungithii ukigathaga weapons cia kurua in the future. Tondu muturire-ini uyu ni ta twi haro-ini, tondu ni kuri na uria urarua, kwina maroho turuaga namo o muthenya o hinga in different areas of our lives. Na ungioya maundu maria tough, those tough things, those hurtful things, those things that are, you know, huge challenges that sometimes onanoko kwe mundu uratuthikiriria urathigera kiundu-ini ukarigwo ngumirira mwena uriku, nguruga iguru, ngugera mwena uyu, ngugera rungu, what do I do? Where do I go? I mean, how do I proceed from here? Maundu macio mothe hindi iria twerekereria Ngai mahanaga tari weapons. Ni tondu when you think about the fruits of the spirit, uhoro wa patience, uhoro wa endurance, uhoro wa long suffering, maundu macio mothe, fruits are not gifts, they are not freely given, they are cultivated. Na riu kwikorwo we niwe urihotaga gutuika patient na andu, like a leader, as a parent, as a pastor. Angikorwo Ngai akuordeinete uhotage gutuika patient, gukiririria andu kinya aria maremaga gukiririria ukahota kumakiririria, ni nginya we mwenyewe Ngai etikire ugere handu where he teaches you patience, he trains you patience, he cultivates patience in you, that you become patient, the very essence of patience itself. Angikorwo Ngai niara gutwara handu hari bataranagia kwenda andu undu that judgment thiini waku ndira exist, ati wona mundu ena giko mutheru muru mwega, you are able to embrace all of them and love them. Tondu kiugo kia Ngai kiuga Jesus was moved maita maingi hindi iria honanagia amuvagwo ni compassion, and compassion is stronger than love. So compassion igwikiraga wingiraga iratu-ini cia mundu ucio, uka almost experience what they are experiencing. Na riu kwikwo Ngai niara, if God is taking you to a place where you will need compassion, ni nginya ame cultivate inside of you to a point where you become the very essence of that compassion, the very essence of that love. So as for me, maundu maria mothe ngerete through, at that point, todo we are human, it was very tough. And most of the times you are confused. You don't understand why you have to go through what you're going through. Todo igicoka na hau thutha, even before I got married, niĩ my mom akuire tene, ndĩ kairĩtu kanini mũno, na nĩ matiganĩte na my dad. Koguo ithuĩ twerera, twĩ ciana ithathatũ, twerera tũrĩ oiki, ningĩ hike, then after a few years I lose my husband. So nĩ wonaga thabarĩ kau. So if if God was preparing me, not if, but because God, and now I know, because God was preparing me to be for where I am and where I'm getting to tomorrow. Nĩ nginya ingĩagerire hau nĩgetha wĩra ũrĩa arabatara kũndutĩra thĩinĩ wa ngoro yakwa, thĩinĩ wa meciria makwa, aũrute thoroughly. Na niĩ ndakinya harĩa ndĩrabatarania ũhoro wa patience na love and all the fruit of the spirit and all those good things that are able to help us to accommodate andũ othe na tũkahota gũtungata ngoro citũ ciũirwo nĩ passion. Nĩ nginya twĩrekererie Ngai nĩgetha akinya gũtũhũthĩra hau tũgacokaga o ũrĩa njugire harĩa weapon, ũgĩcokaga thĩinĩ wa arsenal yaku. You know, arsenal nĩ kũrĩa kũigagwo mĩcinga na weapons cia mbara. Ũrĩcokaga arsenal-inĩ yaku ũkaruta patience, ũkamĩhũthĩra harĩa ĩrabatara. Ũkaingĩra arsenal ũkaruta wendo, ũkaũhũthĩra harĩa ĩrabatarania. Ũkaingĩra arsenal ũkaruta, you know, endurance, ũkamĩhũthĩra. Mũndũ ũkabatara kwenda mũndũ na nĩ mũndũ ũtarendeka, ũgacoka arsenal-inĩ ũkaruta. So you are dangerously loaded, not just for today but for tomorrow, and you're even able to hand over that to someone else. Tondũ wakinya nĩ leadership kana nĩ especially for us pastors, because when you're a pastor, you know, you're a leader. Ciana citũ maita maingĩ matilanaga kũringana na ũrĩa tũramera. Even those that follow us, they learn from what they see us, how we conduct our lives, how we deal with issues and challenges. So those are my lessons. I know I've said so many things. Nadina hota kumekira 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I believe that he mundu warathimu kuringana na uria andoiga.
Thank you
Amen.
so much.
And the last thing about Guthoma is to be authentic. Own your journey, own your story. Ndugaconoke nĩ ũndũ wa maũndũ marĩa ũgereire. It is okay. Tondũ tiwe wa mbere na tiwe wa mwisho. And nobody chose to be where you are. Wĩkoraga ho na no nginya tũlearn ku embrace mĩtũrĩre itũ na ũgatuĩka authentic, tondũ we are at our best when we are authentic. Amen. Thank you.
That is powerful. And I was looking at the Ivuku Liria Awa Adekete. There you are dangerously loaded, grace multiplied, wrestle with ease. Yeah. And that book is available, actually, it's available on Amazon too. And that is powerful. Now, Torio Hawuwori, todo you are a youth a leader, and you founded Talanta. Before we get to Talanta, let us say something here about people who go through such challenges, losing a parent, losing a husband, and you have young children. The importance of involving the children in the mourning process, especially when they lose their fathers or their mothers.
I think now that I know, because when we know better, we do better. Ni wega kuma involved, but at their level.
Yes.
At their level. Matikaheo domereri matekuhota kuchiu, because they are still very young. Through that time, at that early age, yes, nimekuona ucio ni dadi nitwa niakua, they are not understanding. I believe that was if I remember, that was the very first death and mathiko mahavire gukorwo me involved through the whole process kinya guthie kuona mwiri if they want to do that by kumera niki giathie niki kiamuria it was too too much macio ni mahindi marabatara mundu mugima guchiu tondu even for me it was still something really tough for me to even comprehend what happened, when, how. So ni wega meko counseling, but at their level. Now I think counseling is very important. Therapy ni very important. Magihota gutwarwo because uria tureretwo kuria mucii especially during our time ciana ciekagio it's like they don't have feelings titamara feel yet we ugithie through pain onao marathie through pain when you're hurting onao ni marahat akorwo ni gikuo when you are confused onao they are confused so it is very important gutiramakania kana ona rimwe na even a close relative ni wega ciana icio ikaigwo in an environment where mekuhota kuria ciuria ciothe na kuga uria marafeel akorwo ni confused akauga akareku oige I'm confused na ka explainirwo it's okay kuigua guo and agateithio ku navigate through those feelings nigetha makajia kuheal early enough but undu ucio wa gutua ni lose muciari kana ni lose a relative na it is okay na makarekererio ro uguo gutiri mundu urashugulika how they are feeling sometimes you will see them isolate kana ukamuona rimwe sad and no one is concerned kana ukamuoya ukamuhe hug ukamwira it's okay ndukarire kana it's okay to cry. It's always good I think kuma magatwarwo therapy nigetha magateithio ku heal magateithio ku express na kuga how they are feeling and how that is making them feel and with all the questions akorwo kwina iria tungihota ku answer tuka answer na nigetha korwo kwi kuria marabatara kuhoerwo magakihoerwo but especially taithwe spiritual people we spiritualize everything twamahoera twamaigirira moko you go but I think therapy is very important now that I know what I know. Todo na nida havire I didn't go for therapy that time because I didn't know that I needed it. But a time came. I used to live in North Carolina and I moved to Washington, to Virginia because I came to school here for my LPN school. And when I came to school, nĩ gwakinyire hindi ndabataraga kugia na maratathi makwa tondu ndiarĩ na maratathi for a long time guku guo. So as I was sharing my story somewhere, someone said that I needed therapy. And I'm telling you, Captain, ndahavire guthie therapy for 2 good years. And until I started, I did not know that ndarĩ na baggage kinya kuma ndĩ hĩndĩ ĩrĩa mami witũ etirwo. I did not know that there are some things that I was doing. There are some behaviors that I had even as an adult. Na cia stemaga from that time. So I had to go for therapy for 2 years. So